You're on Yung Abuja on ABC Radio Perth.
So, it started with Daniel Ricciardo. He won the Formula One Grand Prix at Malaysia in 2016. He beat Max Verstappen for Red Bull and Nico Rosberg for Mercedes, and he took off his shoe.
For Daniel Ricciardo, winning feeling has returned. Oh, yeah, the shoe's coming off already. And if ever there was a racetrack, Martin Brundle, where you don't want to be drinking from a shoe, this could be top of the list.
There we go.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Post Malone did one last week, and on Monday, right here in Perth, newly minted Grammy and Brit Award-winning artist Harry Styles drank his own choice of alcoholic beverage from a shoe on the stage at Perth Oval. He's doing it. He's necking it.
This is one of the most disgusting traditions I've ever witnessed. I feel ashamed of myself. It feels so personal. Yeah. Such an intimate moment to be shared with so many people. It's fine when Scott does it. I'll be discussing this with my therapist at length.
So, you know, footballers, surfers, musicians, celebrities all around the world have had a go, and it's said to be the great leveller, you know, a sign of the underdog celebrating. So is this just a bit of fun, or could you end up seriously ill from it? I thought we would ask academic and microbiologist Dr. Rina. That's how she's commonly known. She also goes as Dr. Rina Fu, and she's published as Dr. Rina Wong. Now, she lectures at ECU, teaches at Curtin Medical School. She's an artist, illustrator and author of My Mad Scientist Mummy. Good afternoon, Dr. Rina.
Good afternoon, Christine.
So good to have you on now. Firstly, I've heard you're a bit of a musician. Have you ever done a shoey at any of your stage shows?
Well, I haven't, but, you know, I must say I actually have no intention to try the shoey either.
What instrument do you play, just for the record?
I play the piano, a self-taught ukulele, the drums, or whatever I can get my hands on to give it a go.
That's very cool. And look, this is the first time we've met you on the ABC. Can you tell us a bit about yourself before we get into the science of a shoey?
Yes, sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a mixed bag of all these different fun things, from the love of art to in writing and illustrating my own storybooks to teaching. I love teaching and sharing science, making it accessible and fun for toddlers, for primary, high schoolers, as well as the elderly, and also especially for kids with special needs and disabilities. And this is mainly because of my upbringing as a sister and carer to my brother, who has nonverbal autism. And my little boy was actually born with deafness as well. Yeah, so I come with a science and a mother and a carer background.
Yeah, so you want to make it accessible to anyone.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and look, you're doing that with the shoey, that's for sure. So please,
I'll do my best.
Please explain to us what kind of microbes can live in our shoes, Rina?
Yeah, so I just want to kind of take a step back.
Of course.
Because when we think about, you know, for thousands of years and in many different cultures, people have been adding different exotic bugs to their alcoholic beverages. From, you know, in Japan, they add roasted crickets and ants in gin somewhere else. And also in, you know, in the Mexican Mezcal, you know, those worm.
Yes,
it's actually
in the tequila.
The tequila is actually like a form of mezcal. Usually there's no worm in the tequila, but in the mezcal. Very similar drinks, from what I can tell. Well, it looks visually very similar.
Can't say I was reading the label when I was consuming it, but good to know. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, just gulp it down anyway for the extra flavours. And so, you know, if we add extra microorganisms for extra taste, you know, it's actually not that strange if you look at it over time. And in terms of what kinds of bugs are in our shoes, we're going to think about, well, how do they get there? especially the inside of the shoot. So you think about the skin as an environment where you have different pH, which is the acidity, the sweats, the sebum, there's moisture. And if you think about someone's foot, there could be anatomical features like toes, hopefully you have 5, and bunions and warts. So all of that environment serves as wonderful little niches for microorganisms. And most of them are actually harmless and they live there. They're called resident microbes. And you do get a nice variety of bacteria, of fungus. If you want me to give you examples, would you like some examples?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. So like with bacteria, you get at least a dozen families of different types, including the salt-tolerant Staphylococcus. Have you heard of the
Yes.
Staph aureus? Yeah, so you get those.
Like golden staph.
They love the skin. Exactly, like golden staph. They love the skin environment. Also some fungus like Candida, yeast, the stuff that can cause thrush and tinea and your trichophyton. Have you heard of, athlete's foot? I'm sure most people have heard of that. So that kind of fungus would happily be, between the toes. And if people have that, that infection starts between the toes and you have scaly, kind of itchiness that can come. And so, yeah, they love the keratin, which is the protein that is found in nails and your hair. So toenails, they love going there as well.
Wow,
so basically everything, yeah.
Isn't golden staph deadly?
Yeah. So they can colonize. You find them in your nostrils as well as it could be on your foot, on your skin. Some of these is a problem because they can carry resistant genes. And so a lot of these bacteria comes from your guts. They're called enteric bacteria, and they somehow make their way down, all the way down to your foot. And they're very good at swapping resistant genes and mixing the DNA a little bit. And that's how we get more problems with antibiotic kind of resistance, as well as a longer term, problem.
So they're having a party in our shoes. That is crazy. Dr. Rina is with me on ABC Radio Perth and WA. We're talking about the science behind doing a shoey. So pouring alcohol into a shoe, consuming said alcohol, usually after a win, but who knows what can happen. So if you add, let's say, beer to that mix, what happens to those microbes?
Oh, as you said, the microbes are having a party themselves right there and then. You would think, kind of logically, beer, it contains alcohol. Perhaps it will kill the bugs, but most of the alcohol is in insufficient quantities or concentration in the beverage to do any harmful things to the microbes there, unfortunately. And especially in beers, only has like 48%. And also there's actually a lot of carbohydrates in alcohol or in beer. And so that's how people put on weight as well. But microbes can metabolize and use that. And after you've done a shoey and before you put it on, putting it back on, the party starts for the microbes. They're like, yay, extra food for me, especially the yeast. They're having champagne as well. And according to a study, done from a couple of years ago from a colleague from Western Sydney Uni, they were saying champagne actually promoted more bacterial growth. So,
wow. So it sounds like the natural thing to do. Everyone's having a party, but what happens when you swallow it, when you actually consume it?
So when we think about the digestive tract, that is the open system in our body. Okay, so it's not sterile. We swallow bugs all the time, and so usually our stomach acid will take care and kill most of the unwanted bacteria. And the body is mostly experienced of dealing with the assault, if you like, from the outside world. However, there are some disease-causing bugs called pathogens. They can actually survive all the way down to cause some issues like, gastroenteritis, and also, if you can gulp it down and not vomiting just from the smell. There's that physical kind of reaction to it as well.
Yeah. So how sick could it make someone? Worst case scenario, Rina?
Yeah. So Probably, if you think about, okay, when you drink from the shoe, you lift it up towards your face and your lips, your chin comes into contact with the actual shoe. And especially if it was like a stranger's shoe or even your own, you just don't know where it's been. And sometimes it can carry like fungus that can cause tinea, and you're just inoculating your own facial skin with ringworm, for example, which is not very nice. Where I'm talking about worst case scenario. There's the vomiting just from the smell, as your body's trying to protect you. Don't drink awful stuff.
Yes.
And you could be ingesting some enteric bugs that could cause tummy upsets, diarrhea. If you get the really bad ones, you could even get dysentery. It depends on what strains, because most of the, let's say, E. coli, which people might have heard of, is a common bug in your intestine, your colon, and also in your poo. In fact, that's how the Water Corp tests for fecal contamination by testing for this bug. Yeah, so you can get a lot of E. coli's. Some of them carry, toxins that can be very bad for your tummy. Yeah, it causes diarrhea, disease.
So this is really pick your own adventure in terms of the germs that you're ingesting. So have there been any serious cases of illness from a shoey?
Well, not to my knowledge, as it may present so differently for different people, because it really depends on whose shoes you're drinking from, what kind of beverages you are drinking out of it, what circumstances, and the person's own immunity as well. And also, even if you're sick from it and really sick and go to doctors, whether you're going to be very honest in admitting to the doctor, sorry, I was doing a shoey. And that needs to happen before it can be picked up as an official reportable disease or, illness, if you like.
This is not like COVID or RSV where you get real stats. You got to get the truth first. So any advice to anyone considering doing a shoey this weekend or ever?
Think carefully about the various diverse toe fungus and foot bacteria and yeast that you would be ingesting with it.
You'd be safer having that worm in the, what was it? Not tequila, but what's it called?
The mezcal, Mezcal. Yes,
Mezcal.
that would be much safer.
Okay. Wow, I never thought I'd hear that on radio, but amazing the science behind it. And thank you so much for explaining it to us. Really nice to meet you, Dr. Rina. Let's make an excuse to speak again soon.
I would love to. Thank you, Christine.